All right, guys. Hey, this post-fight reaction video is brought to you by Total Wireless, the official wireless provider of UFC. They're in your corner with unlimited 5G data that will not slow you down. So, last night at the Apex, the UFC ended the year with a fight night featuring Manel Kape and Brandon Royval. When we got a new champion at 125, you knew it would open a world of different opportunities for fighters in a world of chances for guys to try and become a world champion, especially if Alexandre Pantoja is injured and is going to be out for a while. A new champion puts a whole new can of paint on his division. Tatsuro Tyra was on the card the night that Joshua Van became world champion, and everyone rushes to say Tatsuro Tyra is next because he has some momentum. He was there, present, which is always great. He got to go inside the octagon. Uh, no, actually, he didn't go inside the octagon with Joshua Van. They showed him before the fight, but they didn't bring him in as they did with Joshua Van when Pantoja defended his belt right before he fought him. The overwhelming sentiment was that Tatsuro Tyra was going to be next for the new champion, Joshua Van. But Joe Rogan actually said, but Manel Kape fights next week. You got to remember, we're rushing. Here's the issue. Manel has long been one of the best flyweights in the world. I remember he used to come to AKA and train, and you knew right away that he was very, very special. But there was always a little something missing, right? And I'm going to give you a stat here in a second that kind of makes you wonder why he hasn't gotten the title shot yet. But Manel Kape had that thing that was missing. And I believe what it was those missed opportunities where he would have these big fights. And while he would win, it was never something that was so like, wow, that you were like, he should definitely be fighting for the belt. He beat the best guys, but he hadn't beaten them in a way where you felt like it had to be. Going into this fight, it was probably the most high stress uh, situation he's gone into in regards to the title opportunity. Because not only did he have a tough Brandon Royval in front of him, he had the idea that in order to get past that Tatsuro Tyra in terms of who's next, he had to look impressive. The new champion had his hands full with Royval. Well, Manel Kape knocks him out in one round. Finishes him. Manel Kape finishes him. Finishes Brandon Royval in the first round. Side of the octagon, hits him with a right hand, stumps him. Herb Dean jumps in, stops the fight. One thing, Brandon Royval, 2 fights ago, was in a number one contenders fight with the new champion, Joshua Van, which is widely considered the fight of the year. Now he was in a number one contenders fight, essentially from Manel Kape only, and he's on the receiving end of a knockout. It's crazy how fast this game turns on the fighters. It's insane. So then I wonder, Manel Kape now is tied for the most knockouts in flyweight history. Yes, guys. Yes. Manel has finished and knocked out more people than anyone in the flyweight history except for one person that's tied with him. Are we ready now to say that Manel Kape now has to fight for the belt? Now are we ready to say, hey, I get Tatsuro Tyra look good against Brandon Moreno, but Manel just won the fight in the first round. Are we ready now to proclaim that it's Manel Kape's turn? And if not, what's keeping us? Because the reality is Manel has made some missteps over the course of his career to where people kind of turn on him. I know him personally. He's not a bad guy. People think he might be. So they may have this idea of who he is. He's not. But if you aren't ready to proclaim him the number one contender today, then you're holding on to something more than the result. Because once again, I am talking to you about the person that has more knockouts than anyone in UFC history in this weight class. He's only tied with one person. Luis, tell me what it is. Who else holds that record with Manel Kape? But I mean, his last three fights are KOs and TKOs. 19 of 22 fights that Manel Kape has had are finishes. Generally, a guy at that weight that finishes people at that rate would have already fought for the title because he's tied with Joseph Benavidez for knockouts. And we know that Joe B had title fights. We know he had opportunities. What is making us not want to see Manel Kape given that opportunity? And look, I didn't want to do this video to make a case for Manel. I just think that it's fair if you put him in the situation that you should consider him right alongside Tatsuro Tyra. Hey, Tatsuro Tyra beat a former world champion. There is a lot of stock in that win. It is by far the best win of his entire career. But there were still, hey, maybe they stopped the fight early. Brandon Moreno looked up and goes, really? At the end of the fight? There were some reasons where you can go, well, maybe Brandon Moreno could have kept fighting. Nobody's saying that about Brandon Royval and Manel Kape after what we saw last night. It's just not true. It's just not true. Just not true. And Tatsuro Tyra got beat by Royval a couple fights ago. So when you're building the resume, that's another thing that Kape and his team can say, hey, well, we just beat the guy that beat the guy. Why is it not my turn? I don't know. And honestly, Manel Kape and Joshua Van is a crazy fight because they're both tremendous strikers. They're both amazing strikers. And Van will make Manel fight. It won't be tit for tat. Let's see who has the better technique. Joshua Van will make this into a fight. And that's exactly where you see Manel involved in some fun fights. You know, it was fun watching the UFC last night from the Apex. It was a bit bittersweet, right? Because now you know this is the end of the UFC and ESPN. Monday, Chael and I will have good guy, bad guy for the final time. Anytime we move from a different place, network, it's sad because you will leave a lot of people that you build relationships with over those times, and you hope that they're fine. The one place that I know where people will be fine is ESPN. A lot of the people that we work with at Fox, it wasn't fine because there is no replacing the UFC. But ESPN is such a monster that there is so much work to be done that I believe that these people will be okay. There's been some ups and downs in ESPN. Hell, at one point, Conor McGregor even broke the app. It's all learning and growing. But I got to tell you, I believe that the UFC on ESPN has really helped to elevate the UFC in a way that I don't know that we would have been if not for the time spent at the worldwide leader. And I always say, no matter what they tell me, that little boy from Lafayette can always say, hey, I work for ESPN. There's a lot of pride in that because that is the network that we all grew up watching for our sports stuff. Seeing Scott Van Pelt and seeing Stuart Scott, Chris Berman, and all those great sports center anchors that made sports so fun for us. So it was good 7 years at ESPN. I enjoyed every second of it, and I will cherish it for the rest of my life. But I thought it was fitting last night that the ESPN deal ended with a knockout. because I believe that for the UFC, that's exactly what that partnership has been. All right, guys. Until next time, like, subscribe, and tell your friends that DC has a YouTube channel. And you can get content like this every single time, especially after fights and post fights. And now you're gonna find us exclusively on Paramount. So it's gonna be awesome. All right. Peace. All right, guys. Today's show is brought to you by our new sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. Hard Rock Bet is a top-rated sportsbook app. It might just take the belt from any other sportsbook app that you use once you open it up and you see it for yourself. And guys, if you haven't tried your first bet on Hard Rock Bet, there's still time for you to get 150 in bonus bets if you win. So place a $5 bet. If that bet hits, you not only get your winnings, but you get $150 in bonus bets right away. Guys, today is a great day to try the Hard Rock Bet Sports app. So it's not just the welcome offer. You can get bonus bets, you can get parlay insurance, and other rewards. The rewards and the promos are nonstop. So download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit today.